Welcome to video number 6 in a series of 13 videos that I am preparing in relation to the 13 days of prayer and fasting that I'm conducting, with a particular emphasis on the Cross and the Switchblade musical that I am planning to take to Broadway in New York. In Acts 10:34, the Word of God says that God is not a respecter of persons. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, it means this, that whatever God has done for Abraham, Moses, David, Daniel, Ruth, Peter, Paul, and the list could go on, He can do for you and He can do for me. And today I briefly want to just share with you just a miraculous event that occurred in my life that really blessed me, I can tell you that. But I trust it will inspire you to believe God for whatever you require to receive at this point in your life. I experienced a number of years ago a phenomenon known as a frozen shoulder. It was this shoulder, and what actually happens in relation to a frozen shoulder is the shoulder is locked, so that I was unable to move my arm like I'm moving it right now. And the initial symptoms that come with that shoulder is an incredible pain that reaches right down to the very tips of your fingers, and it goes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's quite excruciating. And I was experiencing this pain in my arm and the inability of using my arm in the way that I've used it before for a number of months. And I had people pray for me, and I was believing God that what had happened to my arm would be released, and was just continuing to live my day-to-day life. And it came to one particular morning while I was fast asleep in bed that I had a dream, and I want to share that dream with you right now. The dream was this: I found myself standing on top of a green field overlooking a valley, and there was a beautiful expanse of water like a lake below. And as I was standing there, I noticed to the left and to the right of me there are other people standing there as well, taking in the view. And before I knew it, there was this man who was walking up to each of these people, and the woman to the right to me, she was prayed for, and then the man to the left to me was prayed for, and a funny thing happened. He fell over face first into the grass, and it was very humorous. I was sort of chuckling to myself while I was still fast asleep to watch this incredible experience of watching a man fall face first into the grass. And the next minute, this man who had been praying for these people came and prayed for me, and I next landed flat on my back. And a strange thing occurred as that sensation happened. The man who had just prayed for me actually came and lay across the top of my body, just for a short, brief moment, and then stood up and moved away. The next minute, I found myself standing up on my feet again, and I walked across to the man who had prayed for me, and I started to have a conversation. It was just a very general conversation. I was just talking about the beauty of the scenery and of the surroundings and what I was taking in at that present moment. And as he was about to leave, he gave me a gentle kiss right here, because I just said that I was now going to take a little bit of time to go and walk and explore the rest of the valley now that I was free to move around. And it was at that very moment that I woke up. It was 5:20 a.m. I remember it very clearly because my clock was right next door to my where I was laying. And my initial reaction was to get out of bed and to immediately do something that I hadn't expected to do at 5:20 a.m. in the morning. And I lifted both arms straight up in the air. Now I'm talking about the right arm. I couldn't even lift it any further than this. But at that moment I went straight up in the air. As you can imagine, at 5:20 a.m, that was an overwhelming experience. I walked into my ensuite and was just considering what had just happened to my life, taking it all in. I mean, I'd just woken up from a deep sleep. And suddenly I was overwhelmed with emotion. And I suddenly realised that Jesus had prayed for me and healed my arm. And I was rather embarrassed that I was like the men that met Jesus on the road to Emmaus after Jesus had been risen from the dead, that they hadn't recognised him. And I felt exactly the same. I hadn't recognised Jesus. That he had decided to come and visit me in my home while I was fast asleep to heal this shoulder. And I was just amazed, absolutely amazed, as the love of God began to pour over my life even at that very moment. I started to cry and weep, as you can imagine. I want to encourage you to understand that Jesus takes as much interest in you and your concerns, your needs, as he did for mine. That miraculous event is something that doesn't happen very often in my life personally. But when it happens, it continues to remind me that he is not a respecter of persons. And if you're believing God for a miracle, you'll be believing God for a provision, believing God for a turnaround in your circumstances, just know that the Jesus who decided to turn up at 5:20 a.m. in the morning to touch a frozen shoulder and defrost it instantaneously is very interested in you. Go for it. Believe in him, for he loves you, he cares for you, and he wants the very best for you. Look forward to seeing you at the next installment of this great video series that we're putting together. 13 days of prayer and fasting for the Cross and the Switchblade musical that we're going to take to Broadway in New York.